Now we'll switch over to the reader mode. We've placed the reader probe in the machine. The probes may be marked with colored tape or colored tags. Typically I use red for the reader, and if I did the valve assembly, I put yellow on there to mimic the yellow tab that we have on the vintage valves. The new ones are not yellow anymore, but we still use the color. It's an aid to help the person see which one they're grabbing for. And we're going to go with the reader mode, and we're going to go with 20 assay tubes, which happens to be loaded in already. We've got 20 assay tubes here we're going to read. And we start the machine. We'll swing over to the first position, over into the assay rack. It'll read, flow through the flow cell and read the data and display it over here on the display. It'll do that 20 times. While it's reading that, I'll go ahead and explain how we change the settings on the spectrophotometer. This beige box here says Spec Display. It has settings for reading, blanking, determining whether we're in transmittance or absorbance mode, and setting the wavelength. Because we can't see the display when it's up on top of the machine on the counter, because it's pointing up at the ceiling, we can control all the elements from the screen. If we want to change the wavelength when the machine's not running, we enter in a wavelength value in this box, just like we did up here for the samples or for the assay tubes, and we press the wave button. That will tell the spectrophotometer to use whatever wavelength setting we give it. Typically, we start out at 640 for our blue dye tests, and the normal tests will run anywhere from 525 to 585 nanometers typically. Once you flush some water through the system and got it set to where you want 100% to be, you hit the blank button, and then that'll turn the spectrophotometer to zeroed out, as we call it, at 100% transmittance at that particular value. If you want to see the value, just press the read button, and it'll echo that value on the display right there. If you were using absorbance values, you check the absorbance checkbox up here, right above the beige box, and then hit the transmittance absorbance button. That would tell the system that you're going to be reading data in absorbance values. Not many people use that anymore, so our default is transmittance. The rest of the numbers in this column pertain to the blue dye test, and they just show the loop lengths for our ideal loops, which on the old machine you had to enter in every time you ran a blue dye test. This, we set them in by default. The other commands are variable. There's an ID tag here, which whatever you type into this box prints out on the paper tape and also gets transmitted to the other offline computer for further processing. So you can type in an operator name, a product name, any tag you want to put in there, you can enter in that box. Down here we have a box that determines the draw time on the diluter. If we want to increase the draw time, we make this number larger. It's 1.00. If we want a 5% increase, we put in 1.05. If we want a 5% decrease in time, we put in 0.95. next box is reader draw. It's the amount of time that the probe is drawing fluid. Our default is 4.5 seconds. And you can change that if you feel that if you have a product that has a lot of viscosity, you need more time to get it's not drawing enough. Most of the products have a very thin viscosity, so 4.5 seconds works pretty good. And it's done reading the data, it prints out on the screen or on the printer. And there's the Autoturb3 reader, which is what is in there. It says Autoturb3. That's our test ID, the date, the timestamp, and the numbers that are written.